Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I hope all is well with you. I hope you are safe and your family is safe and things are going well. But if it's not, you are at the right place at the right time to learn how to help yourself along the way. All right. So I'm going to talk about how I got the scar on my face, and I'm going to talk about it from a physical perspective as well as a spiritual perspective. All right. So when I was 17 years old, I got put out by my dad and I ended up over by my aunt. Now, with her, she eventually wanted me to go as well. And a friend of ours was staying there and she said, listen, come and stay with me, with my sister, right? Now, a lot of people ask why my dad would do that. I don't understand because the reason he gave is not plausible to me in any way, shape, or form. He said he told me to cook, and I told him that I'm not going to cook. Okay, that's what he said. Because I was like 18. I was 17 going on 18, right? And then my aunt, no, she wanted me out because an uncle of mine was coming from abroad and she thought that if he saw me there, she would be upset. Other than that, I just think she wanted me out because guess what? I was the one that a lot of jealousy and envy was projected on with her child. And so there was always this division growing up. So it's like this was a perfect opportunity to get back at me, which they did quite a lot of while I was staying there. All right. So my friend said, she was actually my cousin's friend, and she said, come and stay with me, come and stay with my sister. And we had a discussion, and I said, okay. And when I went there, her big sister treated me like I was one of her little sisters. She loved me, she cared for me, she taught me to cook, all that jazz, right? Because the only thing I could cook at that time was like fish and boiled food. Anything with fish, chicken, vegetable, and boiled food. Because my dad didn't do like all the other meats and stuff. So she taught me that. She taught me how to cook oxtail, all that jazz, right? Now, my friend had a little sister, and this is where the jealousy came in. So the little sister, a lot of things happened. She would go behind my back to date other persons that I was dating. She would go behind my back to tell people stuff about me because I was educated and all that jazz. But at the time, a lot of people didn't know because I was doing hair. And if you know anything, people automatically assume that once you're a hairdresser or a cosmetologist, then you're a pretty dunce, right? So that was that. And she would often go behind my back and tell people these things. I remember going out with somebody and we went to look at his place, all of us, me, her, and a friend of hers. And when we went there, she was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And, they were all excited. And I was like, what the hell? So eventually he asked me if I didn't like the place because I wasn't as excited as him. So I was like, yeah, it's nice. It's really nice and whatever. But he wasn't taking that. And she went behind my back to tell him that, I didn't grow up like them, da 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 da. So when the man came back to me, he was like, well, there's nothing that he can do to impress me. He was actually offended that he could do nothing to impress me. And, we part ways. And eventually her friend dated that person. She dated somebody that I was in a long term, solid relationship with after we broke up. And she did a lot of things. This is a little sister now. She did a lot of things. Anyways, at the time I hung out with a lot of like racers. So I was the bike and the race cars and stuff. I was into that type of lifestyle. I was that girl, right? And I remember one night I came up, one of the guys dropped me off, and she was there and she was like, she just went off. She was like, all these men are always all over me and I'm not doing anything with them, meaning I'm not sleeping with them, but they're always doing stuff for me. They're always taking stuff from me. They're always taking me out, all that jazz, the things that men do for women and spoil us, all right? And I didn't see what was her problem because even though she was younger than us, than me, she was way more experienced. I was naive. I didn't know anything, but I like to have fun. So I had all these types of friends and all I did was go out with them. So she was very upset about that because she was like, they're doing the most for me and I'm not giving them back anything in return. Eventually, she said, one of these days, you're going to fall off a bike, you're going to get a scar on your face, and nobody's going to want you. So, in Jamaican words, one of them day, you're going to drop off a bike, you're going to mash up your face, and nobody not going to want you. Those were her exact words, right? So, anyways, I didn't say anything. I didn't bind it. I didn't cancel it. Nothing. I just stared at her. And eventually, I was just like, girl, bye. you know? And I didn't do anything. No. About a year and a half after, that's exactly what happened. I fell off a motorcycle. I got a scar on my face. However, the other side to it, where she said nobody's gonna want me, then that did not occur. Not sure what prayer I prayed within that time, but that did not occur. As a matter of fact, with the scar on my face, I attracted some very high quality people. Like, there was just a shift in the kind of men that I attracted. I wasn't attracting like the bikers and the fast life guys anymore. I was attracting high quality, high value men. And this became evident to her about 2 or so years after I came out of the hospital. I saw her and she was like, hey, she was laughing and she was happy. And she was like, yes, nobody not gonna want you, da 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 da. Now, the guy that I was there with, because he was actually taking me shopping. So the guy that I was at the mall with, he saw her and he didn't like her deportment. So he came back over because he was ahead of me. So he turned back and he came over. And I told him that she was the person that said to me, one of these days, I'm going to crash off a bike and I'm going to scar my face. So he was like, well, you're still beautiful. And he, took me and he walked away. She was mad. She was livid because she could not believe. Okay. And I kind of just laughed because whatever, right? No, pay attention. As I said, I didn't bind it. I didn't cancel it. I didn't pull it down. I didn't do anything, right? When I went on the motorcycle the morning when I crashed, which was April 1st, I remember praying when I went on the motorcycle. And I also remember praying when I went back on the motorcycle to go back home, right? But that's a whole story. So anywho, after that, she still had that jealousy because I went to her father's funeral. And when I went to the what we call a 9 night or setup in Jamaica. You have the 9 night, you have the setup, and then you have the funeral. So I went to the setup and the funeral. In the night, she was just like going on, why everybody's behaving like that over me, and guys are still all over me, and she doesn't get the point, she doesn't see it and whatever. And her sister was so mad, that is big sis. She got upset with her and she was like, girl, get over it. You know what I mean? And she was going on and she was saying, during the day when they see me and they see my face, nobody's gonna want me, nobody's gonna want to talk to me or whatever, because all the guys were like, who is that girl? They were carrying stuff for me, all that jazz. They were offering me a ride to go to the funeral the following day, all that jazz. So I went with the family to the funeral. I went that route. And when I went to the funeral, the guys were still all over me and she was upset. Now, I say that a lot of things you have to experience, because when people tell you, because I'm not even chipping the tip of the iceberg when I'm talking about this right now. I would have to go into great details. I actually did another video, but it was way too long. You know what I mean? Not too long, but based on my device that I'm using now, it just was not allowing me to save it or to upload it. So I decided to cut it short and do it over, because I went into great details in that video, right? Now, as I said, I didn't pull it down. I didn't do anything. But by that time now, I knew how to bind and to cancel. So before, I knew how to pray, but I didn't bind or cancel or anything like that. And so I reversed her words, and I didn't reverse it. I bind her words at the time. Yeah, I just bind the words and cancel them. I didn't reverse it at that time, right? No, from a spiritual perspective, right? Death and life is in the power of your tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruits thereof. Now, she used her tongue to speak death into my life, meaning something negative, right? So when you hear death, it's not a literal death. It can be a spiritual death, an emotional death, a financial death. Death is not just, oh, you die. No, death and life is in the power of your tongue. So speaking something negative, right? Now, when she chose to speak death into my life, I didn't do anything about it. And so I had to reap the rewards thereof, whether it's negative or positive. So mine was negative. I actually have a scar on my face. We have to be careful with our words. And when somebody speaks something negative into your life or the life of your child, you also have the authority to bind it, to cancel it, to pull it down, to reverse it, whatever. You have the authority to speak life, right? So sometimes people say things to you and they're saying it to you as if it's a joke, because she actually tried to laugh it off, when she realized that I was just staring at her. Because at the time, I wasn't as particularly calm as I was now. But I guess because I was staying with them, and I didn't really want to get into anything, because maybe if it was somebody else, I would have just beat them. I would probably just beat the living daylight out of them, right? So when she spoke those words, I did not do anything. You have the authority to bind and to cancel any negative thing that is spoken over you, because you have power and authority over all the power that the enemy possesses, and nothing shall by any means harm you. All right. Now, if you go into scripture, there are so many scriptures about this, right? And I'm going to use David. David was having a problem. They were doing everything right. They were doing the sacrifices, they were doing their prayers, they were worshiping, they were doing everything that they were supposed to do, but things weren't going right for them, right? So David was like, God, what is this? What's the problem here? It's 3 years now. We're having a drought. Nothing is happening. No matter what we're doing, it's just not working out. So there are people like that. You're doing your best, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's just not working out. Okay? So God said to David, listen, there's a problem, right? You have to go to the Gibeonites. So he was like, the Gibeonites? I don't have anything to do with those people. What do you mean? And he said, Saul killed some people from their household. So he was like, Saul, I wasn't even there. What does that have to do with me? So God was like, listen, bro, just go to them. So when he went to the Gibeonites, he realized what had happened, and how he could solve the problem. So they said, listen, give us 7 people from Saul's household, meaning David had to kill 7 people from Saul's household in order to break that curse. The curse of stagnance, the curse of poverty, the curse of lack, the curse of anti-progress that was over the nation. Right? So drought. Remember, if there is drought, nothing is taking place. And a lot of people, when you read the Bible, you're only seeing a story. No, they are not stories. They are principles, right? So if you're in a drought, nothing is happening for you. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how handsome you are. It doesn't matter how pretty you are. It doesn't matter what you do, how educated you are. You're going nowhere. So you're living and you're getting your education, but instead of it taking you 3 years, it took you 15. You start your business, it's a very good business. Everybody else around you did something like that. They're thriving, your business is going nowhere. Right? Stagnant. So David went to God, and that's what happened. So when the Gibeonites said, listen, this is what you're going to do, he said, okay, fine. So now he has to go and find 7 people from Saul's household. Now bear in mind that these 7 people were not there. They had nothing to do with the situation. They were not a part of it. But they were killed. They were killed. And guess where all of this is coming from? Something that was spoken over 600 years before. So when the children of Israel were supposed to go into the land of Canaan, when they were supposed to go into the land of Canaan, they were killing all the nations around, getting rid of them, right? And some guys came from far, and they were like, boy, we're coming from far. We're not from these lands. But they were Gibeonites, a set of people that God told them to kill, all of them. And when they came, they were like, forge a covenant with us. Forge a covenant with us. Now remember, you're coming from far. You're not from there. Your shoes are torn. You have no food, all that jazz. That's what they're saying to Joshua, right? But the only thing that was coming from their mouth is forge a covenant with us. Why? A covenant is a very powerful thing. It is forged with words. Whether you know it or not, whether you agree with it or not, people can come, especially people who work witchcraft and so on. They will come and forge a covenant with you, and you do not know. Right? Now, Joshua forged the covenant, and in forging the covenant, he didn't go to God and say, God, these people are around. I don't know where they're from. I just see them come around, and they're saying forge a covenant with them that we won't kill them. Who are these people? He didn't do that. Remember, death and life is in the power of your tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruits thereof. Right? So he didn't do that. And they know that once you open your mouth and say yes, it is an agreement. And the God of Israel want to agree, that's it. So Joshua eventually said yes, because all they were doing was badgering him, forge a covenant, forge a covenant. He said yes. When he found out a couple days after that they were actually Gibeonites. He said, listen, why would you do that? He went to kill them. And God was like, you can't kill them. You forged a covenant with them. So he was like, but we didn't know that they were Gibeonites. And God said, well, you did not do your due diligence. You didn't go to a prophet. You didn't go to a seer. You didn't come to me. So the covenant stands. You cannot kill them. But Saul, a few hundred years later, didn't know about that and he killed them. And so the curse came. The curse causeless cannot come. So sometimes you are not the one that did whatever was done, but you are the one that is feeling the effects years down the line, generations down the line. Great grandchildren, until somebody recognizes a problem and breaks it. Right? So having found that out, he killed 7 people from Saul's household and immediately rain fell. Meaning immediately the curse was broken. You're no longer stagnant. You're no longer suffering. You're no longer going through the same cycle, right? Whatever it is that you were facing, you're no longer sick. Whatever it is that you were facing, now you are able to move on. Why? You found the root of the problem. You uprooted it. You bind it. You cancel it. And you move on with your life. Now remember, this was something that was spoken. Joshua simply said, bro, we're not gonna kill you. Stay with us, replenish yourself, and da 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 da. Joshua thought he was doing something good. But God had said, kill them all. Over 600 years after, here comes David struggling with the same problem. Right? Fortunately for me, it was fortunately meaning I actually lived through the experience and whatever. Not every time somebody has to go to an evil altar to do something to you. Their words can be so powerful because of the anger and the hatred and the bitterness they have towards you. And right there, when you did not disagree with it, when you did not cancel it, when you did not bind it, you agreed with them. Negative or positive. Where 2 or more agree, there is a presence of the Lord, and whatever you ask, you will receive. Remember, these are principles. They can be used negatively and positively. That is why 2 people can come together and say, listen, healing is taking place here, and whoever is sick gets healed. And 2 people can come together and say that person shall be sick, and because they agree, that person who has nothing to do with nothing also gets sick. They are principles. Right? So I'm telling you all of this so that you can be aware. Whenever people speak negative things, bind it and cancel it. Even if you don't want to say it outwardly because maybe who it is, you're afraid to really outwardly say, listen, you can't say that to me or da 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 da. Inwardly, cancel it, disagree with it, denounce it, renounce it, reject it, and ensure that it does not take any root in your life. Because whether it's a year and a half like me or 600 years down the line, it is going to come back and it is going to affect your bloodline. All right, replace it with its exact opposite and protect yourself, protect your children, and protect your bloodline. All right.